Right, morning guys. So welcome back to NZ Marko Outlaw Customs. I'm going to try and get to regular say that. And on this video, I'm going to try and clean up that diff housing before we soak the inside of it. So it's nice and clean for reassembly. So I'm going to try and get that cleaned up a bit on the outside at least anyway this morning. I painted the panels which you've seen in the video that I just put up late yesterday, which is all the stuff I actually painted on Saturday. So that basically that video is, you know, like what I'm doing now was basically just continuation where that ended. I haven't done anything since. So yeah. So I want to leave it maybe another day before I start sanding this. I might have a wee play with them later on today. If we get some good temp today, the weather has been a bit funny the last few days. It's been cool. So yeah, today's Monday. I sprayed them Saturday morning. They should be fine because it is 2-pack. But I just want to leave them maybe another 24 hours sort of type thing. I might have a wee sand on something and just see how it looks. Possibly what I might do is that rear valance. I might have replaced if that rear valance will block out. I might make that the first panel because I've done everything else at least once. So I might do that rear valance first and get that back to the second, ready for the second stage, if you know what I mean. I'll call the rest of it. But you want to clean that diff housing up, and then obviously seeing how time goes and whatever and how long it takes me to get that cleaned up. Then I'll jump on that rear valance. But I also want to have a bit of a straighten up in here. I can actually see something I need to do first. Hold on. Just put a lid back on that so it doesn't evaporate. I left the lid off the prep wash. So that's not very good to leave open. It'll evaporate on me. So yeah, I want to get that stuff cleaned up. I'll have a bit of a reorganisation, just tidy my gear up a little bit. That is my worst freaking problem at the moment. It's just, I ideally like this area behind the bench, get that cleaned up so I can get the shelf over there and have a bit more of an organisation and try and get his crap a bit more condensed again. So I've got a bit more room to just store stuff, even if I could condense that crap, get that bike, four-wheeler, get that bike sort of further over towards that wood and bits and pieces and try and have a bit of a clear area down behind the bench, and maybe even just lay some carpet or something down there. Find just a small section of old carpet or something and lay down there so I can lay some of these bits and pieces down there, especially once I start getting a few pieces painted, like down here, sort of out of the road. Now if I could get that bike over here, get a bit more of this crap cleaned up, get these shelves down here, if I could have just a small section down here where I could just lay a few pieces, even some of the bigger pieces and bits and pieces, just lay some stuff down here so it wasn't on the concrete, if you know what I mean, or even on cardboard. I don't even mind if it's even on some big thick cardboard or something, just so it's not direct on the concrete and it's not getting scratched. I haven't really got too much painted yet, just mainly that front suspension and some of the back suspension stuff, but it'd be quite nice if it was just laid down here ready to go, if you know what I mean. Just had a bit more of this crap organised. I wouldn't actually, I don't know, at some point I wouldn't mind see if I can get that other wee drill press going. I don't know, I need to have a wee play with it, just see if it will work. But that would be quite handy, just even another little drill press. Just get ourselves a bit more organised, a bit more cleaned up in here. It's the worst thing with just this crap sort of sprawled everywhere. Like we've started going through bolts and bits and pieces, but yeah, like if you get that blue shelving over here and have a really good sort out with some stuff as you moved it across, gain some space, get some tools laid out a bit better. And I also you know, as I've said, like I desperately love to get myself a decent tool cabinet to go underneath that, and maybe another toolbox on top. I really need it, but it's just financially, I can't personally afford it at the moment, because I just, you know, because I'm doing the restoration on this, you know, we're sort of doing it as a barter sort of system, you know, like I'm not charging huge amounts of money to them, you know, I'm making quite a nice wee living out of it, but I'm not, you know, because I'm using all his gear and all his power, you know, like I've got some of my tools here, but the bulk of the gear is his, you know, and then I can carry on and do other stuff, you know, and then we've got a barter system, a system for that, but then I will be actually charging a lot more, you know, to do work, and I'll hopefully better start rolling some cash, you know, profit, and actually buy some tools for myself, if you know what I mean. You know, buy a tool cabinet and bits and pieces, hopefully, you know, start putting some money back in towards things I need directly, you know. And we've also got some other plans coming up for obviously the thing that I want to build. I've got lots of ideas running through my head. I would like to sort of start mocking something up at home. I've got a bit of an idea, because I would actually like to build the whole body, and I don't know, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with the chassis like this, because here that sort of thing can be funny, if it's not engineered and made by a certified welder and all that sort of thing, things can be a bit funny. So like I either need to find a chassis off something or whatever, you know, or get somebody to help me that is certified to make one, help me, but that costs a lot of money then. But yeah, I don't know, I'll work on that, but I'd like to build my own body. And I've got some ideas in my head, but yeah, I was contemplating, see if I can get a whole heap of, or see if I can start collecting a whole heap of pallet wood to just even make a buck skeleton, you know, for a body. I'm thinking about doing that too. So that may become a future project thing that I do at home. Not that I've got a lot of, that's about the biggest problem. I haven't got many tools at home. I've hardly got anything, because most of it's here. So that becomes another problem. But anyway, I'll get myself cleaned up here. I'll stop waffling. Righty guys, so I've got this up here, had a bit of a straighten up, clear the bench again, just got my body working tools away from here. So I've scraped the worst of the gasket off this surface. It's just an old cool gasket, so that's pretty easy to replace, just have to make them. And it doesn't actually look like it should be that bad to clean up. It hasn't suffered too bad from rust, like there's some rust on it, but I think what I'll do, I'll just put the wire wheel on grinder and give it a good go over, get rid of the worst of it off, and then I've got a couple of, well I've got that one poly disc, well Scotch-Brite disc that the boys sent me from Iron Horse, so I'll use that and compare notes with this other one that's partly worn. Actually, these are thicker. This is only a 100 and, I think this might be like a 4-inch one. And this is a 4.5, I think, because this wasn't much out past this backing thing, where these actually got a bit more. So it's still very comparable. Pretty sure it was 1/2 inch thickness. Yeah. So these are nice and thick. Where's that? No, it's about the same. Yeah, it was about the same. I actually thought that was pretty much full thickness, but no, it's been used a bit. So it is a new one, so you can see the difference. This is, might have knocked a little bit off this, but yeah, at least I can use this and make all the stuff that they sent me. I've still got to, I'm going to try and find an adapter or make something up so I can use those other sanding discs, which will be really, really helpful. But we'll get this cleaned up. I'll hit it with a wire brush first, get what I can off it, then try and get over it with these to try and clean up the worst of it, and then I'll throw it outside and sandblast what I can't get to, if you know what I mean. I think I'll do that all now before we give the inside of this a final clean out. Now we've got rid of the worst of the gunge out of it. It's just to get all that residue and just loosen up all the stuff that's inside it, so we don't have any issues with crap in the oil and grease into bearings and all that sort of stuff, because these are, it's got old school grease nipples here. Well, I was actually trying to work out what these was, but now we've worked out these are old school sort of style grease nipple sort of type thing. I have seen these before, but I didn't really actually realise what they were. I thought they were actually bits of rubber tube on the bottom of here or something, but they're the old school grease nipples for greasing into the, so it's actually got a grease nipple just here on the top and then one on the bottom. One to go into where the bearing is, and then one to actually, for some reason, to go on the, just on the outs, on the inside of the outside of this axle tube, if you know what I mean. Pull you around a little bit so you can sort of see. And they did things funny. So you have one grease nipple here, which actually goes into where the bearing is on the outside. Now we have the nut and everything goes on in the bearing that's in here. But this one here actually just goes into this part of the thing, which is a bit unusual because there's not actually anything in there, except it's probably just, it may be just there to help lubricate, I don't know, the axle or whatever. It's a bit of a strange one. Why that's there, I don't know. I suppose they were just probably overthought it back then, I guess. I don't really know. It's a bit of an unusual one. I can understand that, to help get a bit of grease into that bearing, to keep them well lubricated. But yeah, so yeah, we'll get this cleaned up, and then if I do sandblast or anything like that, well, at least then we haven't washed this out completely and rinsed it out completely, so then we should better get, if there is any grit and crap and stuff in there, then we should better give it a 3 or 4 good rinse outs once we actually got rid of the gunge out of it, and we should be pretty clean. And then I can obviously mask the front and back off, plug the end of the tube sort of type thing, and probably mask the inside of the thread off and spray it, blow a coat of primer. I'll probably just put one reasonable coat of primer on it, and then spray it black. Right, so I've got the diff cleaned up to this point, but I really need to clean up these end pieces. I was going to sandblast it, but I've realised that I thought there was a bit more left in the bottom of this bucket because they actually used it to just sandblast part of the stuff here. So it's a bit of a pain in the ass, and because they probably never tried to recapture any of it to reuse it, because you can see it's just all over the ground in here, which is really handy. Yeah, now I've got no grit, but I do have a small bucket of grit at home, which I'll just go grab, I think, just so I can get it done. And then when I might actually get this thing a bit more on the way. So you see me wet up. There was a crack in here, so I fixed that. Didn't actually realise it was cracked, but it's fixed now, so that's cool. Anyway, I'll come back to you shortly. Well, before I forget too, on the last video I said part way through that was earlier on when I was priming, this was stuttering a little bit. Once I tweaked up that, not the air cap, but the, what do you want to call it? The piece where the needle goes into. Once I gave that a decent crank, it stopped, so that's cool. So hopefully I don't have too many problems. I'll just have to remember next time when I pull it apart, yeah, just give it a decent crack. It obviously likes to be nice and tight, that one. The rest doesn't seem to give me any problem, but that one there, yeah, so that's cool. But I have heard that some of these A&I from a couple of years ago had a few little issues from that. I think they've fixed them with the new ones. They've changed the seal or something. I did find that somewhere. I think it actually might have been on the Gunman. I used to watch his videos quite a bit, but I normally go back and do a wee bit of reference work if I need to, because he's quite a lot of information too for spraying, you know, and he does a lot of reviews on spray guns and bits and pieces. So if you are stuck on buying something, depending on obviously what your budget is, yeah, go watch some of his videos too, the Gunman, you know, because I've got, well, these two here I got from Spray Guns Direct. This one here I picked up locally, I don't know, 2000 and, I don't know, 14 or 15, something like that. I think I got that one. Might have been earlier than that. It's about that time frame. No, it might have been before that. It might have been closer to 2011 or 12. 12 it might have been. Somewhere around about then when I was, yeah, I think it might have been around about then. About 2012, because I was actually going to get into, at one point when I was back here, I did a little bit of work in my Valiant and Dad's shed at one point, and I didn't have a spray gun. Dad had one, but I didn't want to use his stuff, so yeah, I went and bought myself a half reasonable. Well, it wasn't expensive, but it wasn't $20 or $30. It was about $80 or something like that, and it's actually been a good gun. I've used it quite a bit, but yeah. But anyway, I'll stop waffling. I'll go get this grip. Alrighty, so I'm just in the process of actually trying to make a wooden cork out of a bit of hardwood and put a bit of rubber around it, so we can plug up the end of the tube and the axle over here. Let's see if it works. I've got a tech screw it through it, obviously, so I can, once we sort of bang it in there, we've got something to grab onto to pull it out again. If it happens to get wedged or stuck. Oh God. So yeah, well, yeah, want it in there. I'll come back to it if I got it in before I go to lunch. Righty, so I got the cork in there. Basically, what I did is I just put the screw through the bit of timber, put in the drill, cranked up this, run the drill the opposite way, shaved down a taper plug. Basically, I found a socket that would fit in the end of it, just sneak in there. And basically, I just drew around that socket through the piece of wood, just drilled the hole roughly through the centre, trimmed it down squarish to close to the that thing, and I just trimmed it down to basically I was inside, basically the black line had gone, and just had it nice and fat and white at the back, so I knew that roughly it would be about that sort of size somewhere in the middle. And I just got a bit of old inner tube, just wrapped around it, got it close, trimmed it up. I just wrapped a bit of masking tape around it, just hold the bit of inner tube on, and it's jammed in from the other end now. So I'm not going to fill it right up, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour some of this into this ice cream container, and then just pour it down in there. I'll come back later on, and that'll, well, that's pretty much dry in there. There's a little bit of residue, but if I can see there's a pool of shit in there, well, at least I know it's not stopping. I'm wondering if the screw might let it seep through, but it might be enough to just hold it in there for, 24 hours, even if it is running out of there, because I'm hoping that it won't take a lot to fill that up. And it's going to take a couple of litres to the type thing, or a few pints, or quarts, or whatever you want to call it, but it shouldn't be any more than what they're half a, it should hold about 2 gallons, that, or close to 2 gallons, that half, so, I shouldn't take 2 gallons to fill that up. I wouldn't have thought, but who knows. But I'll pour a bit in there, and when I go have some lunch, and we'll come back and we'll be able to see whether that plug's going to work or not. And then I'll fill it right up. I'll just basically, I'll fill the ice cream container up, sort of about halfway or somewhere around about there, and just tip it down there. Right, looks like it's about half full. I'm just leading this up against the bench a little bit, so hopefully it doesn't topple over or do anything stupid. I'll just boil it down in here. Ah, okay, that could be a problem. Right, where's that bung thingy? Good point. We'll screw that in there. That'll stop a leak. All the things you don't think about, eh? We'll try that again. Right. It's going to make it a bit more harder to tell if it's leaking or not, but we should have enough wood here. It's still going to piss out there, is it? Yeah. Well, it's not very handy, is it? Alright, I'll have to think about this. We'll have to see if we can find something to plug that up with. Booger. Alright, I'll come back to you after lunch. We'll think about it. That was easy. I actually just swapped the other plug over. This one here must be, yeah, it's unblocked. That one's blocked up. But it only holds about half an ice cream container in there anyway, so, or a little bit more. Basically what I tipped in there was enough to fill it up. So, that's cool. So, if it does happen to leak somewhere, it's not going to make a huge mess anyway. And that should collect the worst of it. It would be nice to have it right in the bottom, but it is what it is. I'm not going to lose a lot if we do happen to, the problem. And that will actually be half an opportunity to just pour a bit more in there. I might be able to actually give it if there's a bit of fluid and sitting in there, at least I can actually give it a scrub around. We'll get her sorted anyway. At least I can get in there and give this a bit of a wash around at least half of it anyway. Should be handy. Alright, we'll leave that and come back after lunch and see if we've got a big mess. Alrighty, let's have a wee look. I'll just put this against here to just oh, it stayed in there. It's a bonus. I'll probably be going 45 minutes, I suppose, a bit over that. So that's a good start. Well, I might give it a bit of a scrub around in here, and Yeah, I haven't really got any. Wish I had some big long ones of these, would be quite handy just to scrub down in that tube, but let's see if I can figure something out. Anyway, I'll have a clean round and we'll get back to you. Righty, so what I'm going to do, I've got some old fencing wire here. Well, new fencing wire, but it's been sitting underneath that police shelf for a while. I'm going to get a decent length of that. I'm going to double over, jam a bolt or something in the end of it, put it in the vise, and then I'm going to twist it up with a drill, because I want to try and make some sort of brush or like a rag type brush. I've jammed a piece of rag in it. It doesn't need to be terribly big. And then I'm going to put it at the end of the drill and I'm going to run it up and down that tube to try and clean it out with that simple green in there. I thought about going to get a bottle brush, but I'll make something. So I'll get to it and see if it works. Yeah, so this is what we did. Basically, it's just a bit of rubber around the cork. Got that in there just in case I couldn't get it, had to try and put a pair of vice grips on there or something to pull it out. But that was sort of just, a just in case thing. But it eventually pushed itself out anyway, but that's cool. We'll fly it from the other end and we'll run a raggy thing in there and hopefully, maybe just a bit of a pressure wash and whatever, and now if we have to do this again, what does it matter? I'm not worried about a little bit of crap on the floor here. It'll soon dry up. Marinate down the tube and hopefully that'll work. We have to turn it over and do it one more time. It's not going to matter any, as long as we get the shit out of the tube. Just so when we do assemble, get it all fresh stuff in there. And you're going for that first drive and it's got a few miles on it and it's got hot. Last thing you'll need is dirty old grease with grit and crap and stuff in it, mixing with the fresh oil and grease and whatever, and all of a sudden going through a bearing or something like that and just destroying stuff. So we've got to get it clean. Well, that's cool. I think that's going to work quite nicely. And I think that the rag down in the tube and just agitating it and whatever, it should definitely loosen it up. I'm not quite sure if it's getting right down on that sort of last piece and really loosening it up, and that sort of, there's like a bowl down the bottom of that tube before that plate, it sort of bowls out a little bit. I'm not quite sure if that rag is getting right, sort of spreading out in there, but who knows, with it spinning fast, it might be enough just to help loosen all that shit up. We'll do it a couple of times each direction, maybe. It's not going to hurt anything, so that's cool. Right, next project. Right, so just drag this panel over here while it's having a soak. Now, what I said about this the other day, trying to sand around these things and end up with funny marks. This is a prime example. So the rest of that doesn't look too bad. Like it obviously needs to block that because this is the first one, but I tried to get in here and try and clean up and tried to sand out as much as I could. But you can actually see where I sanded around it, try and get rid of the extra bit of body filler and bits and pieces I had in there. So yeah, you can actually see it's not too bad on this side, but when you get to here, it's actually got quite a ring around there. I'm not quite sure if you can see that or not. See. Can you see that? Yeah, you might be able to see that now. When that light, when I move it through that light, you can see that's got like a line down through here. So that's from me, just trying to sand this out and make it reasonable before I high build it. So I'm going to have to try and improve that as we block this out. I'm just trying to think what I'm going to start with. It doesn't look like it's in too bad a shape apart from that, so I might just start with 240, I think. Right, so hopefully it's clean now. We might have to give it one more go just up around the edges and stuff. I'll turn it around. Yeah, so basically what I did is I let it soak at the other end for a while. I run the cloth up and down it on the wire, and then I pulled the plug out, and because I'd turn it around, I just sat the first engine down there, poured 2 or 3 of those white containers full of fluid down there, just to try and swill out the worst of the shit. And then I've got another one sort of part full, put the rag down there, poured it on top of the rag, and just run it up and down there to help swish any other stuff out down through the hole. And then obviously just done it again the other way. There's still a bit of crap in there. Worst thing is because it's got this funny bowl there, and then it's like the opening's only, well, where's my plug? You know, like it's only, it's only, you know, like that round, you know, the hole in there's only that round, so you got all this area here that you're trying to get the crap out of a hole that big. So yeah, it is definitely loosening all the shit up in there. So we might have to do it a couple more times to try and really loosen that crap out and get it loose and get it all out. But that's definitely working. It's a prick of a thing because it comes down out through that. Actually comes in that axle tube. There's like another piece that's about the same size in there. I'll bring the camera up and I'll show you. See if I can show you somehow. Can I turn the... let me turn the flashlight on, that's a bummer. Anyway, I don't know if you can see down in there. I can't forget the right angle. You can see like there's another, like there's a hole like that, but that's further down. So like there's a piece in there that's restricted by a hole that size, basically where the axle goes through. It's like an inner and outer, you know, like there's a piece to trap grease in, obviously, or whatever it's to do. I don't really bloody know, to be honest. It's almost a pain in the ass. It's like a double seal thing, but it's not as though you could actually get a bearing in there. But there's 2 felt seals. So it obviously helps to trap grease for some weird reason. It's almost needless, if you know what I mean. But yeah, like it's trapping all that gunge and stuff in there, which is sort of the worst bit about it, you know. But we're trying to get it loose anyway. I think the tubes themselves will be pretty bloody clean now. It's just trying to get in there, just in that first initial area, which you can see where that next piece is, and then you got another hole, and then you go down the actual tube. You can almost see it. You can see that better now. The light in the right place, but yeah, that's kind of a dilemma, to get that clean, so it's not causing us any issues later on down the track. So it's cool, but yeah, I might see if I can make up a short bit of wire thing and see if I can get a rag in there and whip it around in there and try and drag some of it out, if you know what I mean, or something. Because I can't even get that in there to try and screw it around in there, if you know what I mean. It's quite a small bloody hole in there. It's a pain in the ass. It probably actually wouldn't be so bad if that was open into the tube and didn't have this same size hole, you know, that whatever it is, 1.5 inches, 2 inches in there, whatever it is down into that next piece. So yeah, probably if that wasn't there, yeah, it would probably be quite nice and clean. It looks like it's, you know, pretty bloody clean in there now with all that. Actually, probably if you gave it another hot wash now, it would probably actually get rid of it. But yeah, I'll carry on cleaning. Right, how's this for a brilliant design? See, the axle tube is a separate piece, and the housing goes up into that bit, but it doesn't actually go anywhere. So all this crud is stuck up the tube, not the inner tube where the axle runs, but this other piece. So whatever you can put in here is still going to drag shit out from down in there. So now I've got to try and get that all cleaned out. What a frickin' dumb idea that is. Here I am thinking when I was running up that rag up and down there on the drill, you know, I was getting all the crap out of it, but I was out of there, but not out of down there, you know. And obviously the other way, you can see the shit that's in there because I've been blowing the air up in the tube to try and get the crap out of it. What a freaking dumb design that was. You can see why they don't do that anymore. Good place to trap shit, and it's like thick, you know, it's gritty, crappy shit. So that's lovely. So that's going to be fun to get that all out of there. Anyway, we're getting it clean. Interesting, I thought I'd actually let that soak. I didn't, also didn't have that corking very well, but it's actually, there's still some fluid down in that tube, but it's actually draining down. So it must better get out somewhere. It's a shame it's not a freaking decent sized hole so you can actually flush it shit through. Be interesting to work it out, but yeah, I don't know where that crap would come through. It'd be nice. But anyway, we'll get it clean eventually. Might just take a bit of perseverance with a steam cleaner, maybe sit it up on some stands and just keep blowing it out so that all the shit runs back out this way, and then, you know, blow it back out so it runs back out this way, and try and have it so it's on a lean but on its side. Just keep rinsing it, let it run back, hopefully flush it out eventually. Be fun. Anyway,